Hello, what is up? It's Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video, and today we're doing my September wrap-up. I read only 9 books in September. My goal is 10 every month, so that didn't happen. So this should be pretty quick compared to my other wrap-ups. So let's just go ahead and start. First book I read was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I gave this 5 stars. I'm sure you've heard about this. It's all over YouTube right now for spoopy season. It's about this dad who is a writer, and then he writes about his family's experience in this haunted house. In the book, the family leaves on this specific date, and then you get the perspective of the daughter when she's an adult and she's flipping houses, and she finds out that she inherited the house after her dad dies. So she goes and scopes it out, sees if it's actually haunted, if everything in her dad's book is true, and tries to figure out why her family left when they left, and if her dad wrote some truth in his books. There's some twists. I've talked about this so many times. I'll link my vlog of when I read this so you can get my full thoughts. I'm also like very mellowed out right now. I'm tired. I was on the phone for an hour with Expedia to get a flight rebooked, and it's this whole thing. So I'm tired. My coffee didn't help, so sorry in advance. That's Home Before Dark. Next book I read, The Killer Across the Table by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker. But Xavier, my boyfriend, his mom let me borrow this. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. That 5th star would have been there if this weren't the first true crime book I read, because it shook me to the core, and it felt weird giving it 5 stars because it's like people's traumatic experiences. I don't know, but also it was so informative because John Douglas and Mark Olshaker are, well, I don't know what Mark does. I think Mark is also a profiler, but John Douglas for sure is a profiler for serial killer investigations. So he works with the FBI. He was like the first person to do this. He basically kind of predicts what the serial killer looks like and his like demographic and occupation, his reasonings behind why he committed his crime. He provides all this information just based on the victimology. So like studying the victim's photographs, going to the crime scene and studying like the traces of evidence, like, oh, this blood splatter means this, and then if it's shaped this way, then it means he killed her with this weapon. It's honestly like it's crazy how he makes these predictions. I also read Mindhunter in the beginning of October. I just finished it a few days ago, and I love that one too. And that one goes a little bit more in depth. But yeah, I'm glad I read this. It opened up my interest for true crime. I don't know. I think it's like my psychology minor coming out, where I'm like interested in more like their reasonings behind like what makes them tick and like what triggers them to commit these things. I'm not into like the grime, the gore and the grime and the gore and the graphic parts. Like it honestly makes me nauseous, but I mean it's part of it. So next book, this was the month that I started tabbing books, and I love it. I make them match to the cover. I'm so extra about it. I bought metallic ones for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Of course Jan makes it extra. Are we surprised? Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nangan. So this is a sequel to Girls of Paper and Fire. I also have a vlog about this book. I'll link that as well. I gave this one 4 stars. It just took me a little bit to get like reaccustomed with the world, get back into connecting with the characters and everything, because there were a lot of new ones and there were a lot of like minor characters that emerged to more main ones from the first book. I loved the humor in this book between the half human, half demon characters. But if you don't know what this is about, this world has 3 castes: Moon, Paper, and Steel. Paper is fully human, Steel is half demon, half human, and Moon is fully demon. Basically there's this kingdom where there's a demon king who like captures these paper girls, takes them away from their families, makes them serve him sexually. It's gross, but yeah, these 2 girls escape, and it's them just trying to get to certain destinations. It's honestly like a super adventurous book. I laughed, got sad. There's a lot going on in this book. There's also a sapphic romance between 2 characters, so it's a good time. The ending was so frustrating though, like I could not. I will definitely continue this series because there best be a 3rd one, I swear. Next book I read is Committed, same vlog as that one. This is by Elizabeth Gilbert. If you've read Eat, Pray, Love, this is the story of her and Philippe getting together, their journey to getting married, because at first they didn't want to get married, but since Philippe was not from the US immigration people, basically they had to get married. This is her going through it and like her reasonings behind not wanting to get married initially. She goes into like the history of matrimony, how it affects men and women as an individual, and particularly it's informative. And I mean, Elizabeth Gilbert's a super strong writer, so I love anything she writes. Next book I read, Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. This is the sequel to Serpent and Dove. The main premise is a witch and a witch hunter were forced to be married, and obviously that's kind of like a forbidden thing because witch hunter kills witches. And then they go through this like journey, but Lou and Reed are our main characters and everyone loves their chemistry, but honestly I can't relate. I don't know. These books just go by really quickly for how thick they are. They're like over 500 pages. I read them in like 2 days, and the cover's beautiful. Lou's personality is very sarcastic, spunky, so we love her. And then Reed is kind of the complete opposite, but they mesh together really well. I just like don't feel connected to any of these characters, but yeah, Lou's mom is like this evil witch, so they're just basically trying to escape from her mom's like seething rage. That was so bad, but I gave that one 3 stars. The next book I read is The Psychopath Test by John Ronson, I think. Okay, this one I gave 2 stars. I read this one as an ebook through Libby. I went into this with high expectations. What I heard about it before actually reading it was that it talks about how the word psychopath gets thrown around, but no one actually really knows the nitty-gritty details of what it means to be a psychopath. Like, psychopath is more like a scientific term. Successful businessmen, usually they like pass as a psychopath when they take the psychopath test. And how many times can I say psychopath? I mean, literally only like a couple facts stood out to me. Literally like 2. When I say a couple, I mean literally like 2. I was just bored most of the time for this book. It's just the layout of it was not, I don't know how to explain it. Like, yes, it was informative, but also it was all over the place. It wasn't structured in a way that was easy to follow, I guess is the best way I could put it. So yeah, 2 stars. Next book though was a 5-star read, Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wen. We follow each other on Instagram now. Pretty dope. I blogged about this too. I'll link it down below because I loved it so much because it has so many discussions about things I could relate to, like super high expectations from Asian parents, because I'm Filipino if you didn't know, and like the way the way Ever was raised by her parents was very similar to mine, like super strict, always pushing academics, and you know, like all that stereotypical stuff you hear. It just like went in depth into that. They sent her to this like summer camp kind of program thing, but like for kind of rich kids, and it was in Taiwan, but like she didn't do a whole lot of learning for the most part. The book was about her like finding herself and rebelling against her parents and like testing her limits and, you know, partying, and she gets into some sort of scandal interacting with boys, not doing homework all the time. She literally had like a list of rules that her parents set that she wanted to break that summer, and it was just such a good, well-rounded, well laid out story. It wrapped up really well, but I also am so glad she's writing a book 2. The author is actually in Taiwan as we speak doing research for book 2, so that's pretty cool. I loved the romance. There were no like insta-lovey parts. Each character was very well developed. There was obvious character growth, which is always satisfying to read about. There was a lot of representation, not only like sexually, but like also like one character has dyslexia and one character has rheumatoid arthritis, which I have, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, and then they all had different interests. Like one was really into art. Ever, our main character, was really into dancing. One was into business and negotiations and stuff like that. So overall, great book. 5 stars. Also 5 stars. My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing. Oh my gosh, this was a wild ride. It's such a good thriller. The twists are crazy. You just gotta read it because I can't not spoil it. So basically it's about this couple who wants to spice up their marriage, and so they start killing people. He like pretends to be this serial killer, writes letters to the media. The daughter gets scared and paranoid, and the son is like super manipulative. The whole family is kind of a mess. Pretty much all I could say. The book was really good at like building up to the end and like going back and forth between flashbacks and like how their marriage got to this point of like killing people, women specifically. But yeah, that was a good one. And then lastly, my 98th book of 2020 was The Bromance Book Club, and I gave it 4 stars. I read it as an audiobook through Libby. Oof, this book is steamy. I was literally on a run and listening to this, and I was like turning red. I was like, oh my god, can other people hear this? This is so weird. So it's about this Major League Baseball player who has been in this marriage for 3 years, and he finds out his wife was faking it. the whole time. So we open up the book by him being drunk, and then his friends, like his teammates, try to help him through his marriage, and they've done it before with all their other marriages. They introduce him to the Bromance book club. It was just like a book club where they read romances and don't tell their wives about it, but they just like take pointers from these romance novels, and it's just really good. Like each character had like a lot of layers. I love a good well-rounded character, and I liked that this book was about fixing a marriage as opposed to like starting a new relationship, you know? I've heard that from a lot of people who've read this book. So wow, my energy is really low. I'm so sorry. But those are all the books I read in September. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you had a great day. Stay safe and stay positive always, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.